Hurry up and sit down, John. Quit dancing. There we go. That's better. And guess what we've done? We've decided to add a little to the dynamic here, bringing my brother in here because he has a few observations on the ignorance that occurs worldwide on a regular basis, almost too regular, I think. And wait a minute. As always, you can't fix stupid, but ignorance is a lifestyle choice.
And Art felt like I was picking on him, and he needed his brother to take care, to protect him.
You really think I'm going to back him up? I think that's the wrong plan right there. I'll tell you it right now. You've been picking on me since day one.
And who was the one that kept poking you when you were nodding off last week?
Oh, you were. Yeah. Wasn't that? You were picking on me. Then I needed Stuart to protect me. That's it.
That's a much more likely scenario, let me tell you. Anyway, I got to start with this. This local newspaper. Now, a caller, this is Clawson, Michigan, bustling metropolis of 2 square miles.
2.5.
Whatever. Caller reports a suspicious candidate. Approximately 7:07 p.m. March 18th, the caller reported that a man with a beard and a brown coat was carrying, quote, some kind of sign, unquote, and chasing after customers outside of Leon and Lulu, according to the police report. That's a local, really upscale decorating store. A lot of beautiful stuff in there. I go in there every so often. They also have a real nice little coffee bar. The caller last saw the man walking behind the business after he reportedly walked into a tree and fell down, according to the report. Now, I don't know if the caller walked into the tree and fell down or the guy with the sign. That's a little confusing to me. Responding officers made contact with the subject, who was holding a sign with his name on it in the city's northwest parking lot. The man explained he was running for Congress and was trying to bring attention to his name. Police advised him to make sure he stayed on public property and not harass anyone, or harass, depending where you're from, as they left an event at the business. The man agreed and said he was not intentionally bothering anyone and told police that as he was leaving as the event was over. Now, I can think of about 15 different ways to take this, but let's see what my co-hosts have to say.
Well, myself, I think I would be more likely to stand in the parking lot of a bar, and I would have little, I would have made a deal with the bar owner where I would have had little tickets that I bought a bunch of, and I'd give you a ticket away for a free beer, That's what I would have done if I want people to vote for me. You give them beer. That's what they did in New York City in the turn of the century.
You got anything?
I'm just thinking, I believe they outlawed that there, John, because they did do that a lot. Free drinks, vote for me.
True
if
story.
I was out there, whatever, I do other various charity things. If you're out there with signs and ever, don't wear a real long overcoat. It doesn't look
good. Decades ago, the government, and this is a true story, the government was investigating political corruption, and they had a guy on a witness stand, and they said, did this candidate offer you anything to vote for him? And the man said, well, yes, he offered me $5. And then the lawyer said, and did his opposing candidate offer you anything? And he said, well, yes, he offered me $5 too. So the lawyer said, well, what did you do? The man said, with a straight face, why, I voted my conscience.
Yeah, that's what I say too. How do they know you? If you can give me all the beer you want, you don't know who I voted for in the voting booth.
That's
what you're going with. Okay.
That's my story.
That's the only thing that comes up.
I'm sticking to it, yeah. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, yeah.
Stu, you had a couple little things, please.
I have a real interesting one here from Rogers, Arkansas. 2 Arkansas men have been arrested on suspicion of aggravated assault after police said they shot each other while taking turns wearing a bulletproof vest. The police affidavit said that the 2 men are neighbors and were drinking, shocking, on the deck Sunday when Ferris told Hicks to shoot him with a .22 caliber while Ferris was wearing the bulletproof vest. The affidavit said the shot left a red mark on his chest and that he was angry because it hurt, so they took turns shooting each other.
Okay, number one. Wait, John. Wait a minute. Number one, as I understand, bulletproof vests, they're only good for so many shots because they kind of, it's like a slow deterioration with each round.
Right.
So.
And depending on the caliber too, 22 probably wouldn't be that big a deal.
And the other thing about it is the way it came public is the one guy went to the one guy got so mad he emptied the whole clip in the other guy's back, and the guy's back had so many bruises he went to the hospital, and he told the hospital that he was a bodyguard who was saved his client, and that's what happened. And then his wife spoke up and says, those two blanks were in the backyard shooting each other. And then the cops come out and charged him.
What gets me is this. Number one, didn't he know his wife was there? Because every wife I know, when your husband, especially if you don't know they're there and you're trying to brag up a little bit because maybe the nurse is kind of cute, and they always come up, even... I'm cool. I saved my client and I'm a bodyguard. And then the wife says, no, he's not. He works night shift at 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing that? Now they both got now they both got to pay lawyers and judges.
Well, wasn't there a recent case here in Michigan where a judge was getting paid and weren't supposed to be?
Yeah, there was, and it took forever to get rid of her because the judges stick together.
Yeah, you got a good point.
They're all
good point.
Yeah.
So you had another one too, I think, out of your particular research. That's one of the reasons why I thought an extra person here might be a little.
This one I found great. This is in Connecticut. They were going to go play football, and the football field was way too wet. So one of the administrators decided to pour gasoline on it and light it on fire to dry it up. Obviously, there was over $50,000 damages, and the game was canceled. Now, how much, these are people in the educational system.
With college degrees.
Yeah, with college degrees.
Masters and doctorates.
Yes. We're going to pour gas on the lawn and light it. That will dry it up.
And can you imagine? And he had to be at least the assistant principal to do that.
You mean you have to be an assistant principal or higher to be allowed to carry a lighter?
No. To administrate at a football game, because football is easily as important as academics in a lot of high schools.
Academics?
Yeah, from alchemy, academics.
I thought you were combining alcohol and college and sports. It made more sense to me.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest thing is, why would you even think that? Where would that thought even come from? What does he do to, how does he dry his car off at the end of the day? We'll just pour gas on it,
That's excellent.
I wonder how much gas the idiot poured down. $50,000 damage. He had to pour a fair amount down. And the coach and the boosters club had to think, what the blank is he doing?
Supposedly there was he had a couple 5-gallon cans that he spread around and then lit to, dry up the field real quick so we can play. And again, it's a school function, and you're talking about the educational system. If this is one of the people in charge, scary thought.
Yeah, actually, for burning the lawn, they shouldn't have fined him or anything. They should have just fired him and said, "Look, you too stupid to know gasoline bad for lawn. You go home."
Okay, number one, like we always say, give him the benefit of the doubt. He may not have been stupid. Maybe he was just ignorant. The lack. This is something else we get into from time to time. The almost total lack of forethought or consequences in the actions of people is just getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, and the thing is I know of a school district, which I won't say the name of, and the superintendent, new superintendent came in, and this is when they started making commercials for school of choice, and he's making the school of choice commercial, and he's got this real high voice, and he's making a come to our school district. Where are you gonna do this? And it, everybody was like, who's gonna call up with a goofy voice like that? And what came out is that he wanted to be elected to the State Board of Education, and after all, it only took him 3 years to develop a speaking voice. That's pretty good for an administrator. I mean, somebody else will go to college, and they'll take one speech class and they'll have a good speaking voice. But this is an administrator, and they load up all their memory in their head, and just like your computer, once you used up all the memory, you can't do anything, and that's what happens to PhDs.
That wouldn't be as funny if it didn't make so much sense.
The problem is that you get to a certain point, you have to start discarding things, and they're very indiscreet on what they discard. Like, how do I put my shoes on?
Actually, though, on a very serious note, this is something that psychologists and psychiatrists, whatever, which way one, but they're actually working on this because as people live longer and have more things put into their memory banks, we are going to need a new way of remembering things. As it is now, how many people use computers constantly that all they are is memory, an adding machine with a memory. And it's getting to the point now where you have to learn a different way to access the memory. You don't retain the memories anymore. They're in the computer.
Well, think about your cell phone. Growing up, we knew phone numbers. I still know a few phone numbers. I'm not even sure if I know my own right now because you're so used to having things stored on your phone. Oh, well, who do I got to call? Well, you're number 3. You don't have a 248 blah 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 or 313. You have 25 numbers on your phone, and somebody is 1, 2, or 7.
And I got the cure for that. They should make everybody have twins or a clone, and then you have one person remembers everything from A to L, and the other person remembers everything from M to Z. And then you could stretch it out better. The two guys just go along and everything. No, you don't like that idea.
It's scary how much sense you're making today, John. Okay, here. Let's throw in another moment of levity.
Yes.
We've decided, by the way, nobody gets a chicken award this week. There is such a preponderance of incompetence and idiocy and, quite frankly, incontinence also, that poor little thing's just going to have a week off.
He's overworked.
It just amazes me. In fact, John and I were talking about this yesterday, saying maybe we have to go back because certain people are going to get the reward of the chicken, basically like an emeritus, or like Aretha Franklin got the award just because she deserves so many awards. Well, I wanted to give this to politicians, and not necessarily Trump, often, but others too, that I just took them out of the equation. We can't use politicians anymore, except at lower levels.
It has gotten so ridiculous. I heard a story about a congressman in Texas who was supporting a bill that you would not have to have a CCW, whatever, open carry, whatever terminology you want to use, and he woke up one Sunday morning to one of the gun advocates in Texas at his door, fully armed to the teeth, and then Monday morning he went in and dropped the bill because he was amazed that these people could come to my house and do this to me. But he was perfectly willing to have it as long as it was somebody else. It was okay with him.
Yeah, there's actually a term. Come on, dear. There's a term for that. It's called NIMBY. Not in my backyard.
Oh yeah.
In fact, Roger Smith used to run General Motors. Used to talk about NIMBY a lot because he was always doing things, and people say, not in my backyard."
Yeah, and it worked really good for the nuclear waste in Nevada. Even though Harry Reid is now retired, the nuclear waste is being kept temporarily in New Mexico. And, temporarily for nuclear waste means, 100, 200, 10,000 years,
Million.
Really that long? I thought it was after 10,000 it was okay.
No, I
geez.
when I was
I don't know. I
extermin-
don't know the half-life of plutonium off
Yeah,
the
well,
top
no.
of my head.
When I was an exterminator, I had to learn about LD, which is lethal dose to kill 50% of the. They
Yeah.
call it LD50. Kill 50% of the population on a regular basis, and all the stuff you do is predicated on that. Well, for some reason, I got into the half-life of uranium, plutonium, rhodium, palladium. I think is
Palladium,
another
yeah.
one, and it is unbelievable. The half-life, meaning that half of it will decay to another radioactive substance, and in many cases, it's in the millions of years or thousands of
Lordy.
years. And I mean, I may be holding up pretty good, but I have no chance of ever lasting that long.
Yeah, that's crazy, you know. But when I was young in school, you studied LD50. I studied MD 2020. And that was about the mad dog. 20% of the people could have 20 ounces and they'd be drunk, is what that meant.
Well, I didn't know it meant that. All I knew is that Mocha David, which is what Mad Dog is, mixed with 7-Up was my mother's drink of choice.
Yeah.
Of course, with us as sons, maybe she had an excuse.
I didn't know what any of those numbers meant. I just partaked. What is past tense for part? Yeah, I drank this stuff.
Yeah.
And it didn't cause me any problem whatsoever.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think it's time.
You ever notice some people's T-shirts
Good old
make
Carl.
more sense than they do?
Talk to us, Carl. We missed
Yeah.
Didn't hear him.
Oh no, he'll be on the tape. Don't
Oh,
worry
okay.
about that. I gotta say, I gotta get to this one. This is just beyond stupid to me. I'm sorry, beyond ignorant. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The state Senate is advancing legislation to help school districts pay for accommodations for students homebound due to injury or illness. Now, if you're homebound, no matter what the reason, you already have an accommodation. So what kind of a pork barrel project is this thing?
Well, maybe they meant that to get them an internet line or a computer sold by their brother-in-law.
Damn it, I'm sick. I don't want to have to do homework.
Yeah, you know, in a few more years, our cell phones will have apps that will do homework for us.
Nothing to say, Stu?
I'm just sitting here listening on some of these
that's
things.
the truth.
You
That's
forget
the truth.
I got the 4 grandchildren. I sit there and watch and get scared every day.
I look at any children nowadays. It includes millennials.
Yeah, there you go.
Vanilla ones.
Yeah.
Millennials. And all I could think of is, man, I'm glad I'm over the top of the hill.
Well, while we're sitting in a restaurant waiting for dinner, and my 3-year-old granddaughter grabs her father's iPhone, iPad, whatever, is sitting there searching for YouTube videos of the Muppets.
They're there. I've seen them.
Oh, they're there. She found them, and there was, wonderful. And it's like, you look over and go, there's 3 years old, and you can use it better than I can. So
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the iPhone and an iPad and all that other stuff, it's just, I don't know.
me with his, I won't spend that money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got an Android thing, and it didn't come with a robot. I really thought it was going to come with a robot.
Well, you gotta say one good thing, though. It looks like we might finally be getting our flying cars.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you mean because the bridge is only half done? And they fly right off the edge when they keep going.
No. I'm talking about the very clever way that certain people have managed to take powerful drones and marry them together into one unit and fly with them. Haven't you seen some of those videos?
Oh, yeah, but they don't roll down the road. So that's why I'm confused, because ignorance is a lifestyle choice. You got to remember, I represent those people. I'm hoping they'll vote for me some year. But yeah, I've seen those things. Can you imagine flying that thing? Well, it's got, they got like 30 motors, so if one motor dies, you're not going to go, boom.
But the biggest problem with all that stuff, and even the car that they were talking about, it's all powered by batteries. Now, I would really, there's a good thing that we're getting to electric cars and everything else and all that stuff. But if I'm up in the air, I want something that, has, hit the other tank of fuel. Simple as that.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but this is going to lend itself to the sitcoms. Somebody's going to somebody is going to be flying their thing, and all these people are going to be saying, we're going to get you. And he says, good luck at that. And he presses a button, he goes up 10 feet, and then the battery dies, and he comes back down. It's going to happen.
This is my problem, that after what? They've had electric cars because electric cars were really steam and then electric before gas.
Correct.
And in fact, the old Stanley steamers, I mean, it's a joke, but that's what all the women drove because they were clean and they were easy to use. But the problem is, we've been doing this over 100 years. Battery technology it has definitely progressed, but it's got so much farther to go. Because even in the 70s, everybody's crying about energy shortage. We didn't have an energy shortage. What we had was a form of energy shortage. Because you can almost power your house with solar cells, but how do you store that? And sorry about getting serious, but that's what the real problem is there is a lack of a viable storage medium. Thoughts?
Well, that's part of the problem with gasoline. They say it's only good for so long. It looks like gasoline being stored starts losing its energy. But yeah, it's a storage situation. It's not a matter of, do we have it? The sun comes up. We can use solar cells. You can use wind. You can use gasoline. You can use natural gas. It's a matter of the storage media and how long you can hold it somewhere, because it does get dark and cold occasionally.
Well, like that gasoline, if it gets to the point where it's losing its properties and all that, all you do is pump it back into the ground and bring it out again, and it's recharged.
You say that as a joke, but at one time we used to ship a real thin oil down to Venezuela because the Venezuelan oil was so thick it was hard to pump out, so they'd inject thinner oil to thin it out so they could pump it out economically.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
And I'll lay another one on you that my stepson and I argue about all the time. In France, they have a car runs on compressed air.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, but it has an extremely short range. So unless you want to sit there and install a little pedal-driven compressor in the trunk, you're only going to go to the bar and back so many times before you have to charge it up again.
Yeah, and there's not enough professional politicians to recharge.
Get all the hot air.
Get all the hot air you need.
Most people can't handle the truth.
Now, something that everybody seems to have forgotten, in Europe I got to think what year this is when I discovered it. It had to be about in the 70s or 80s. They were running city buses on flywheels that were encased in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And what they would do is they'd bring them into the shop at night, and they put a motor on them. Well, the motor took all night to spin the flywheel back up to speed, but once it got back up to speed, it was good for 6 to 8 hours of driving around a city, a town.
And they also reclaimed energy from stepping on the brakes, and that went back into spinning up the flywheel is what I heard.
I hadn't heard about it being a regenerative system, but hey, if it was good.
Well, you're still back to storing the energy. What is the perpetual motion machine? Because it can't happen because it can't keep itself running.
Well, God has made perpetual motion machines. That's exactly what politicians are.
We're on air. I'm going to let that one go.
And little children too. They're perpetual, motion machines. And the high schoolers change from perpetual motion machines to perpetual emotion machines.
and then a little bit older, and they become perpetual inertia machine.
Yeah, they used all their energy, Yeah.
So, excuse me, but you had one particularly good Darwin Award. So let's hit that real quick.
Okay.
'Cause believe it or not, we're winding down. It's been almost...
Not fast enough food. Confirmed true by Darwin. This guy, Peter, was an accomplished big cat keeper. With his huge heart and gift of connecting with animals, the former Tulsa zookeeper was a perfect volunteer at Safari Animal Sanctuary in Broken Arrow. Perfect until the Liger incident.
Okay, hold on a second, John, just in case nobody knows. A liger is what you get when you cross. I think
lion
it's
and a tiger, I
a
would
lion
assume.
male and a tiger female.
Yep.
Because if you do it the other way around, you get a tigon. Well, it's fun, seriously. But the odd thing is that they're sterile and they're huge. I watch a lot of Discovery Channel.
Yeah, and
You
they're
really
like
got a lot more time on your hands than I do.
they're like well, you have grandkids, don't you?
Yep, I got grandkids. Yep.
And they're
I do too, but I discovered the wonderful benefits of duct tape.
and they're not a species. They're like mules, like they say. It's the largest of the cats. And Rocky the liger that lived in Broken Arrow was known as a big baby. But he was not a domestic animal. The wildlife sanctuary said, in all my years we stress that whatever you do, don't open the gate. Peter opened the gate. For reasons unknown, he violated the rules and entered the liger cage during feeding time, only to become an appetizer for the hungry carnivore. Now, see, ligers are that big that a full-grown man was only an appetizer. Although he dragged himself out of the cage before becoming the main course, he died in the hospital that very night. Peter was loved and he will be missed, but he well aware of the dangers posed by captive wild animals. But not following obvious safety rules, Peter was behaving with all the care and caution typical of a Darwin Award winner. Boop! And that's me. I'm a Darwin Award winner that hasn't cashed in his check yet because I know I'm stupid and I just think things. I don't do them.
Don't open the
machine,
door.
yeah. Machine's giving me a hard time again. There we go. It never fails to amaze me what people do without thinking. I mean, well, we recently had a couple of weeks ago, these two, if I remember correctly, they were Southern gentlemen. They were going out to have a few beers, and they had somebody dug a big hole in one of the lanes of the road, and they put the sawhorses around it. So the guys thought it'd be funny, so they drove past it, moved the sawhorses so that they're blocking the good part of the road, and people would drive in the hole in the ground, right?
And they drove into the hole themselves, didn't they?
No, not yet, not quite right away.
Oh, okay.
You jumped to the last chapter. They went to the bar, and on their way home, forgot they had moved the sawhorses and ended up in the hole.
And it was a big hole.
But you're back to alcohol was involved.
Yeah, like
a lot of things you got to Well, all the stories start. So I was in a bar. Things get bad.
And look what happened at the Last Supper. They were passing around a jug of wine, and it didn't work out well for Jesus.
Or Judas, he lost a lot of friends like that night.
Yeah.
Bump. we have a mutual friend, EMT, who says the one thing he really loves about YouTube is how it almost always starts. Hold my beer and watch this.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's it. Believe it or not, it's time for. And bye-bye.
Art takes the end. And Stuart, we had Stuart, and he's not on the list.